So today's day two, and as today's date, we are going to do health data mapping. So we are going to map malaria risk areas using QGIS. And the agenda for today is I think the recap and questioning, we have done that one. So we are going to do data joins. We are going to join data. That's a CSV file to a spatial data. That's the 37 states boundaries that we have. And that particular data also contain malaria malaria cases in these particular states. And also lastly, we do a Choropleth map and do graduation classification, color scheme for health maps. And the map aspect, I think we already know that aspect. So I think after everything, if there's no time, I think you can do the map layout aspect and send it back to me. So the learning objective is to join the CSV data to spatial layer, also create a Choropleth or thematic maps using, we are going to use appropriate health data colors, interpret spatial disease patterns, create professional map layout, and export publication ready maps. We have already done the recap. So today we are going to do table join. So what is table join? So in table join, we connect two data sets using common fields. So we need to have our shapefile. So if you are trying to join two data sets using QGIS, we need to have our shapefile. So first of all, you have your shapefile, and the other data set that you need to have is a CSV file. The CSV file is always the normal Excel sheets that we have, and the shapefile is what we have already been working on the first day. So the CSV file, the shapefile must contain state names, and also the shapefile must contain state names, and the CSV also must contain shape names. So we join this state name. So if you are trying to do joins, you are trying to join a table to a shapefile, the column, the attribute table, and the data set in the CSV file must have the same name. So both of them must have a common name like state names, and the state names will contain the state names in Nigeria. For the shapefile, the state names will also have the same names in the CSV before we can do joint analysis or joining the table. It does not always matter to have state names. It may be different column. Maybe it could be names of health workers, names of maybe disease, but all of them have to be the same from the data set that you are trying to join. They must have the same. So we may see example from the subsequent slide that I'm going to show. So today our data set is going to be the first data set that we use, contain the 37 states polygons, and the CSV file will contain the state level, prevalence, percentage, confidence interval, and the risk categories, low, medium, and high. And I hope we all have this data set. I think the last time I sent it to the chat box, so we all have this data set. So the first step is to load the CSV file. So I think I need to switch back to the QGIS so that we can follow step by step here. So let me switch back to the QGIS. And if your software is not open, let me give 3 minutes so that you can launch your software and also load the data. Just load the shift. If you don't have the 37 states loaded, just load that one, and the CSV file, we are going to do it together. Yes, please. The Nigeria malaria. Okay, so to add the CSV file from the slide, we need to go to layer and add the limited text layer. So to find that, we need to click on this particular icon. If you can see on my screen, click here. So if you click on this icon, the data source manager, just click on data source manager. This pop-up will appear, and in here click on delimited text. You click on delimited text. So if you click on delimited text, you see three dots there. The three dot is going to let you browse to where the CSV file is. So you browse to where your CSV file is. So this particular section, I can't tell you where your data is. You should know. So just browse to where your data is, and when you see it, you click it and you select it and click open. Okay, a minute. So when you click the delimited text, you see file name. You see file name. Under the file name, there's a three dot, a tiny three dots there where my cursor is. Click on it. Then you browse to where your file is and you select your file. All right. I think the last time I sent the data, so maybe if you don't, if you, I don't know, but if you don't have it, I can send it again. So, but if it is on your laptop and you can't find it, for that one I can assist. But if you need it again, just send a text in the chat box and I'll send you the data. Please, a minute. Let me send the data, the chat box again. Okay, so I've sent the data to someone in the chat box. So let's wait for 3 minutes and see how, so that the person can catch up. So now let's continue. So if you have loaded, if you have found your data and click open, I think you found your data at the layer name. So layer name, you are going to see Nigeria Malaria 2021 DH verified. And also encoding, make sure that the encoding is you have selected UTV.8. Make sure it is at UTV.8, not a dash 8 rather, not dot 8. And file format should be CSV. Also at the geometry definition, you should set it at no geometry. We are setting it at no geometry because this CSV or this particular file does not have x and y coordinates, so that's why we are selecting no geometry. So if everything is okay, we can click on add and click on close. So when you click on add and close, you see your Nigeria malaria CSV file on the layer. And this is a CSV file, so with a CSV file, we are not going to see any data here. We are not going to see any polygon or line or dot or whatever. We are not going to see anything here. So yes, UTF-8. So if you go back to slide 5, as I was saying, connecting two datasets using common fields. So you need to have a common fields before we connect two datasets. So we need to check the attributes of this data if they have the common fields before we can join. So first of all, let's check the Nigeria malaria by right-clicking and opening the attribute table. So if you open the attribute table, this is what we have. We have the states, and the states will contain the 37 states. And we have the malaria perseverance, the low, the upper, the risk. These are all other categories. So we need to verify which column appears on the 37 boundaries. That's the shapefile of the Nigerian state. We need to check which of these columns have this is appearing. They have common or relate the same thing with the CSV that we have. So if you right click and check the open attribute table, we can see that name 1 is having the 37 states with the same name as with the CSV file. So if we verify that they have the same column names or they have the same similarity, then we can join this data to the shapefile. And if it was having, if you were seeing any malaria something here, we can also join, because you need to always, you need to see something which you need to see something that they have in common. The two data set that you need to join, they must have something in common. So what we have in common with the two data set that we have is the state names that we have in common. So we are confident to join the data set that we have. So the next slide was to inspect the attributes to check if we have the same common columns or the same common properties that we can join, and we have already done that. So the next one is to create a joint. We need to create a joint. So to create a joint, we are creating the joint. We want to join the CSV file to the shapefile. So we will right click the shapefile and go to properties. So if you right click the shapefile and go to properties, on your left hand side, look for join. This icon, just look for join, click on join. If you click on join, there's going to be a blank space, but beneath it you see the plus sign, so you click on the plus sign. So we click on the plus sign. This is the joint layer. So the joint layer is the CSV file, and the join field, this is the field that we want to join, that's the state. And the target field, so we need to have a target field. So the target field is the state that we have, but the state that we have is the name there is not a state, but it have the same names with the 37 states that we have. So we will click on name 1, the name underscore 1, because that one has the same information with the states that we have, contain the 37 states. So when we have that one, we click on join field. This box, you check on this box. So if you check on this box, you take this one. We don't need the state. You take the malaria, you take the lower, you take the upper, you take the category, the risk categories. And it comes to the custom field. The custom field, this one is not mandatory, but you can do it, and I'll just explain if you do it and we don't do it. So let's say that we are not checking that one. So let's say that we are not checking it. So we will click on OK. So when you click on OK, you apply and OK again. So now we have joined our data. So in order to verify that we have joined our data, you go back to, you right click on the shapefile, open the attribute table, and scroll this bar. So when you scroll this bar here, you see this. You are going to see this. So this is where so the part that I said we are not supposed the part that I was saying that we are not supposed to do, if you like it or not, you can see that we're having these long names. I don't know how to make it visible here, but there's a long name here. We can't actually see the malaria something here. We are seeing, okay, now that we can see, so now you can see the long name, Nigeria malaria 2021 DH verify malaria. This a long name. So if you go back here, there's a message in the chat box. So please, I'll check it back as soon as I'm done with this one. So you go back here, select, you right click, go to the joint layer, click on the edit. There's a pencil down there, click on it. So when you click on it, you click on custom field name. So in here, we are now going to change, clear this name. We can even clear the whole of that name, but I'm going to make it ng, just ng to be added to the name, so that it will be ng malaria something something, or ng risk categories ng something something something. So you just click on OK, apply, OK again. So when we go back to the attributes, now we can see that we are having ng cl lower, ng cl upper instead of the long name. Okay, so let me remove it and do it again. I think someone is lost. So to join, I'm doing the joint again. So you click on the add new join. Everything has been set already. The only thing is that we need to set our target field, which is the name one, and we know the reason for selecting this name one, because it is containing the 37 states. It contains all the names. So we will do that one, and at the join field, we click on join field, we check this field, select this one, excluding only the state. We won't check the states, but everything apart from the state we are checking. And in here, custom field name preference, we check the custom name preference, clear everything, leaving the n, and the n we add g to the n, and click on OK. When we are done, we click apply, OK, and go to attribute table. We have everything. as you want it. So this is how you join a file, CSV file, or even if it's an Excel file or whatever file that you have, but mostly it should be CSV or Excel. I'm not sure you can add a PDF. You can do PDF joint and related. It's only mostly CSV or Excel files. So when it is done, we can choose to remove this Nigeria. We can choose to remove the layer or just leave it there. So we have verified that the joint has worked. So we open our shapefile attribute table again to check the new columns, and we saw the new columns has been added or joined successfully. So each state now has a malaria data. As we can see, if you use where's the identification tool? I think if you use, okay, I won't use the identification tool, but if you use the identification tool, you are going to see the information in here. If I select any of this field, okay. So in here you see that each particular state has malaria data associated. So this highlighted state has its own, as applied to all the other states that we have. So the next slide is creating the Choropleth map or thematic map. So a Choropleth map or thematic map uses color region to display values. So it gives chance for allowing for immediate visual interpretation for geographical data patterns. So in thematic map or Choropleth map, we are going to assign different colors or different patterns of colors to this particular region, so that we will know that this color here or there is showing that this is what is happening there. If you see this color, this is what is happening there. So for instance, so if you are seeing maybe yellow here or green here or red here, it may indicate something. Either malaria at that area is low, high, or medium. So that's what thematic map is about. So to do that, we will right click on the layer properties. So the layer that we are talking about is the Nigerian boundary states layer. So we will right click on that one and go to properties. So when you go to properties, we look for symbology. Go to properties, look for symbology. And under symbology, the settings type, you click on this drop down arrow, select graduated, this one, and when this one is selected, the value, we need to assign the value, and the value is going to be the malaria data that we have. We are going to select this one. So you come here, you are going to see the malaria. We select the malaria data set that we have, and under the color, under the symbology or the color, we are not going to change this symbology. We need to go to the color ramp to set a color, and at the color ramp we are going to select yellow, orange, red. So if you click on the color ramp, this here, where my cursor is, click on the drop down arrow, all color ramps. So at the all color ramps, you look for yellow, orange, red. You can see on the slide, check on the slide, you see that name. So look for that particular name. Yellow, orange, red is going to be the last one on the color ramp. So you select that one. So when it is selected, now we need to check the mode. So on the slide, we can see we are selecting natural breaks. So to see the mode, you see the mode here where my cursor is. You click on the drop down arrow, you see a different types of mode. But we are not using the mode type that we are going to select for your data depend on the kind of data that we have. So equal interval, if you are selecting equal interval for this particular data set, we will be doing a bad analysis, or what we are doing was not represent the true meaning of the data, because malaria as we know is not something that it is equal. Because let's say that if there's a high rate of malaria in, let's say, Lagos, it won't be we won't have the same total number in any other states. And if you try to use quartile to, it's not going to help. So you need to use, hello. If you click on values, you see this, as you can see on my screen, you see this particular figures and you select the malaria. Okay, let me verify. Is he the only one having that issue, or you are having that issue? Okay, so how did you add your data? Let me know, how did you add your data? Just give a description of how you. So how did you add the data? No, like I'm trying to say that how did you add the data? Like how did you add the data to the data view? Like did you drag and drop, or did you browse using the browser, or you went to data source manager, open data source manager? Which one did you use? Look at where my cursor is. Did you add the data from that particular angle? Where my data is? Where my cursor is rather. Okay, so just I don't know, just go back again, start, remove the data, remove the CSV file that you've added. Do it from that steps again, and let me see, because definitely you should have the values displaying. All right, so let me continue. Okay, so let me explain the symbols. I think I didn't explain this one. So the single symbol is what we are seeing here. The single symbol is what we are seeing here. So with the single symbol is just displaying, because we only have this one. If you are doing single symbol, we will have this one. So you can only see this particular field, only one color. That's a single. But categories, I think one, I'm explaining this one because some, there are assignment that you submitted, I think someone did categories. He categorized the data set that was given. So categories is just giving each category. So this one, categories is when you are dealing with discrete data. So this one is a discrete data because it's having names. Initially, this one is having names. So the names is the states. So if you want to categorize these states into different colors, then you need to use the categories. So for instance, if you are trying to categorize this one, we click on the categories. And after creating the categories, we can select our value. So our value, we will click on the state names. When you click on the state names and click on classify, we are going to have a whole bunch of colors. This colors is going to match each particular state that we have. So you are going to see different colors for all the 37 states. So if you click on apply, we are going to have this one. This is a category thematic map that we have done. So it's just going to use, so mostly if you have any data which have names, anything have names or characters, you can do categories. But if you're having something which has numbers, that's where we use the graduated classifications. So that one uses numbers. So this one, this graduate classifications uses numbers. So that's why, so if you check our malaria data, it contains numbers. So you select that one and check the color ramp. So the color ramp, you will look for the yellow, orange, red. Select yellow, orange, red. We select yellow, orange, red. We now come to the mode. So for the mode, we are going to select natural break. We are going to select natural break because our data is not, malaria is something that, as I was saying, that if the malaria outbreak in Lagos will not be the outbreak will not be the same as any other state in Nigeria. So we can't set it as equal interval because it's not equal. Diseases are not equal. And we cannot use quartile because it's not also quantitative something because it have different variabilities from different states or different neighborhood. So it is best that if you are dealing with disease related, it's best to use the natural breaks so that it's going to break it naturally. So if you are talking about the natural break, so let's say that if you are trying to group individuals in terms of age range, we are going to range it from maybe from 1 year old to maybe 1 year old to, let's say, 12 as a child, and maybe from 12 or 15 to 20 something as maybe teenage, and maybe from 20 upwards as adulthood. So that's the natural break. That's how the natural breaks works. But if you are trying to do natural breaks, like maybe natural break does not work that as a child, if you are trying to make the range from 1 to 25 as children or something, that's not natural break. That's since you are trying to do other sorts of classification. So natural break is something that we know that it works naturally. That's the natural order of doing things. So as we are dealing with disease related data, we need to do it the natural way as it happens. So that's the reason why we are using the natural breaks. So if you click on the mode, you right click to select the natural breaks so that it will do everything naturally. So if you select the natural breaks, we are going to see the ranges. So the ranges will start from 3 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 45. But if you are using, let's say, the equal interval is going to start from 3 to 18, 18 to 32, which if you try to use that one to analyze the data, you may be wrong somewhere. So it is best to use the natural breaks so that we have the 3 to 20, 20 to 30. So with the classification also, for the classes, we can change the classes. If you see where my cursor is, the class based on what you want to say or based on what you want to communicate, you can make it 5 classes or you can make it 3 classes. And bear in mind that the data that we have, you see the risk categories is in 3 classes. The based on the data, the CSV file, the risk categories were into low, medium, and high. So we can either classify this particular data set into 3. Like if you click the drop down arrow, we are going to have 3, making it low, medium, and high. And also based on the slides too, we can make it 5 here. So let's stick with the 5, and later you can play around with the 3 using the normal standard of the CSV file. So you click on apply. So when we click on apply, this is what we get. We are going to see this, and this color. So this color, the red areas are going to see, we are going to see that the red areas are areas which have higher risk zones, and yellowish, the one showing yellowish is going to be the medium. The moderate one, this color is going to be the medium, and the yellow one is going to be the low areas. So in selecting colors, the color choice of a thematic map matters a lot because we can't use any particular color. The choice of a color matters. So for instance, if you are trying to use this color, let's say we are trying to use this green color, and our data set, what we are trying to we are trying to communicate something in let's say a disease related data or disease related analysis that we are doing. If you are trying to do this green and other stuff, although you can explain for someone to understand, okay, these areas are areas which have higher communicated malaria cases, but the color choice is not good. But if you are trying to do anything related to forest mapping or forestry mapping stuff, using green color can show, okay, these places have healthy vegetation. So the choice of color matters in terms of mapping. So best to use this color. So we should avoid using green and red, and also avoid using random colors. So the next slide is the explanation of the natural base classification, which I've already explained. So with the natural base method, I think these are the four points that you need to notice. This is find the natural grouping in data. So the natural grouping that naturally is going to find, if you are using age range, is going to find children's within the age range of maybe 1 to 6. It's not going to add and jump adults like or teenagers into that particular group. Also minimize with class variance. So the class variance small, those classes which are small. So in case in terms of age range, is going to select children into that particular range and select teenagers in their range. And also for the maximize between class variance is also selecting numbers which are in that particular range. It's not going to overestimate by mixing classes with a different class. So smaller class are going to be in smaller class, and higher class are going to be in higher class. So if you have this map, by analyzing the coalesced map or thematic map, we can identify the clear geographical patterns in malaria across Nigeria, and also what these patterns, so what do we see within this pattern. So we can see that the northern state has a dark red, and also the middle belt has orange, and the southern east has yellow, and also Lagos has light yellow. So if we are having this, if we are able to do this analysis, the question that may come up next is, why is the northern so high and also why is Lagos so low, having lower malaria cases, and also why drive these patterns. So what is making the northern pattern of Nigeria having the most of the malaria cases, and why is the maybe the southern part having low or moderate malaria cases. So if you do this, this is where the why comes in. So that, as I said, GIS is all about how, where, and the why. So this one, having this one, decision makers or other policy makers will now be asking this why questions and know the reason why these places is having this particular figure, so these places is having higher cases of malaria or any other any other disease related. So when this is done, the next thing is to do is to add state labeling. So the state labeling provide crucial context to our Choropleth map, making it easier to identify specific regions and their associated malaria rates, whether it is high or low. This data, I think this data, we can only, by the color, we can know that this area is having higher cases. But what about the percentage? Because if you check the data, if you check the attributes of the data, we can see some percentages. Let me open the attributes of this data. If you open the attributes, we can see it has figures. It has the figures 3.2, 17.6. So what we are going to do with the labeling states is that we are going to add those figures to each particular state. We are not going to only show the names. We are going to add those states, those figures to the names. So to do that, we go to the properties and go to labels again. We right click, go to properties, and go to labels. So at labels, we navigate to the labels, and the value, we will select the name _1. Select name _1. Then select name _1. We need to do expression base. Expression base is like we are going to set it's a this one, what's the name? We are going to do a query. We are going to do a query to attach the name and the percentage to add the number of percentage each state is having in terms of the disease spread out. So we click on this particular icon or label, this icon where my cursor is. Click on it, that's the expression 2. We click on it, name is already selected. So we are going to put our cursor here. In here, you need to watch what I'm doing carefully because I'm going to do some typing. I'm going to type some characters, so you need to just look at what I type and you do the same at your end. Or you can also follow from slide 15. If you go to slide 15, you see the expression. So first we are going to type concat, that's concatenation, but has been shortened to concat, so you type concat. So as you are typing, I think it will come. So when it appears, you click on concat, CONCAT. So you double click it, and as it appears, we need to bring a column, a semicolon, and not a semicolon. What's the name? Quotation. Yeah, you need to bring a quotation, not a double quotation, one quotation, one bar quotation, not double quotation. As we can see, the name is having a double quotation, but we need to have only one. So in here, I'll click on Shift plus. I don't know where you need to find it on your laptop. I don't know where your quotation marks are, but in here, if I click Shift, I know where it is. I'll click that one. Click on only one. I only have one quotation here, and click another. You need to have two. and add comma. When you bring the comma, you type round. You need to type round. And you type round, bring open brackets, double quotations. So the expression in the, don't type the, when you open the brackets and bring the double, the Nigeria, malaria, something, don't type the Nigeria, because you know when we are doing, when we are adding the CSV to the data, under customization, we cleared the name, so we added ng. So you rather type ng instead of typing the whole Nigeria. If you type the whole Nigeria, your expression is going to be wrong. So you just type ng, capital N and the small g. I think that's what we did. I don't know whether we added a hyphen to it, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure you added a hyphen to it, so let's just, and now you type the malaria. This time, after the malaria, you need to bring the hyphen and type the prevalence. Double quotation, comma, type 1, comma, type 1, close brackets, comma again, bring percentage sign, comma. The expression is wrong. The expression is wrong. Okay, so when you type the ng, bring hyphen, or bring underscore rather, not hyphen. When you type the ng, bring underscore, malaria underscore prevalence, you close the double quotations, comma, 1, close the brackets, you bring your comma, don't press space after the comma, after the closing of the bracket, don't press space, just type comma, add the percentage sign, and bring another close the bracket again rather. So if you can see, you can just type what you see on the screen before I click on OK. I can't even click OK. Expression is invalid. Minutes. Unexpected quotation column, unexpected. Give me a minute. I need to figure this thing out. Okay, I've forgotten it now, so you can type what I've typed here. If you can see what I just typed here, you can just type this, the following, and we'll continue. Okay, so the question that you asked, I have just verified it now. And what we are trying to do is we are not trying to label using one particular field. We are adding two fields. We are adding the name. The name is what we have already added. And now we want to add the malaria prevalence data too. label that one also. So we are going to have two labels. So that label is going to show the name. Maybe if it is Lagos, Lagos, it's going to show the number in terms of percentage. If it is 20% of malaria risks at that particular place, we are going to say so. In doing that, you need to use the expression builder to do that. We can't use the normal label to do. If you are using the normal label as we did, we can only label only one, either the state names or either the malaria or either the set of categories. I think by this time the equation is long. So when we are done with the labeling like this, I think the last aspect for the class to end is doing the map. As we did the last time, you need to add your map, add the map to display, add your title, add your legend, your skill bar, your north arrow, and also you can even add your data source. So, and I think we have 20 minutes to close. So if there's questions, I would like to hear them, and you can do the map aspects on your own. So I'll use the 20 minutes for questions relating to what we did, and the map aspect you do it on your own. If you want to increase it, like as as you can see, I've zoomed out to mine. So if I want to increase it, is it this what are you talking about? This zooming it to make it larger like this? So if it is smaller like this, if it is smaller like this, I think the best way is to right click on the data, click on zoom to layer. If you click on zoom to layer, you have this best shape that you're seeing. Does it answer the question or? Hmm. Is it on data view or you are viewing it at the layout view? Okay, so have you tried zooming to layers and it didn't work? When you did zoom to layer, it was perfectly fine. Can you share your screen and let me see what you're talking about? Maybe it's confused. Yes. Okay, so you are talking about the characters, right? Okay, so um right click, right click the state boundaries and go to properties. Okay, go to labels. Yeah, click on labels and the size. You can reduce the size. No, 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 not there. No, no. Yes. Yeah, you can see size there. So you can just reduce it to 8 or 7 and whatever. And you click apply and see if it is okay for you. Yeah, okay. Okay, so does anyone has any question again relating to what we have done so far? Okay, what you need to put, I think what you need to put at the layout, I think it is in the slide. Yeah, slide 16, you see it there. You see what you are supposed to put on the layout. So the data source you can type, I don't know the full meaning of the DHS, but I think let me see if I'll get the full meaning of the DHS maybe I think. Okay. Okay, so the DHS is demographic health survey. So that's the data source. So that's the full meaning of the demographic and health survey. Okay, so if there's no other question, I think we are done for today. Okay, the recording, I don't know. I think you need to ask David. I don't know when he's going to send the recording to you. But I also have my own recording that I've done, but it's going to be in gigabytes. So I don't know if I'm sure they are going to send this one to, but I don't know when. I don't know when. So if it delay, maybe you can send me this thing. You can send me a message on WhatsApp and maybe I will send mine to David and he will share it to you. Attendance. I'm not having the attendance. Let me check my mail if they send it in my mail. No, there's no attendance. They didn't send any attendance sheet to my email, so I don't know. Okay. Meaning you don't have, none of you have the PowerPoint presentation for only this session or all of the sessions. Okay, let me see if I can put it in the chat box. Let's see, that's not right. Okay, I'm sending it into the chat box. And also there was I think there was a reschedule on what's the name? There was a reschedule on Friday, right? I don't know whether they informed you, but I don't know whether it will come off because if it is coming on, that will be the last session, the day three. So if we are able to meet on Wednesday, if we're able to meet on Friday, meaning we won't meet on Saturday because we are only left with one day. They are only left with one slide. So I'll communicate with David and enable and see if the Friday class is coming on, meaning we won't have Saturday because I'm sure definitely we are going to finish that one. If we can't finish on Friday, that to me we are going to finish it on Saturday. But I'm hope definitely we are going to finish it on Friday. And after the Friday, whether we do it on Friday or Saturday, after that session, either Friday or Saturday, the final project will be submitted to you later. So if it is on Friday, final project will come in Saturday, and if it is on Saturday, final project will come on will be delivered to you on Sunday, right? So that's the information for now. And now this PowerPoint does not contain the guide for the last project. What I'm saying is that for today's session, the last part of today's session is to create a map of the malaria race that we have done. So you already know how to go to the layout and do the creation of the map. So just do it on your own and maybe submit it, and that's it. And when we meet on Friday or Saturday, I'll do a recap I'll just share what I did and also go through what you guys did. And if there's something that I need to talk about or explain, I'll just do it.